I mean, you do what you have to do, and luckily enough, it paid off, and I have my dream job.
This is Toast Meets Jam. It's an interview series with millennial female founders and really anyone who's following their passion, pursuing what they love. And so I'm excited because today we have someone who's done just that in a little bit of a different way. And this is Rochelle, and she's with Dog Vacay.
Yes.
So I know you're head of communications for Dog Vacay.
Yeah. Yep.
And I am an avid user of Dog Vacay. Oh my God, yeah.
Good.
There's this whole time I basically lived off of Dog Vacay. But that's a whole nother story.
Well, I'll have to get that story for communications
at Dog Vacay.
Another
story. But for some people who aren't as familiar with what Dog Vacay is, would you mind just explaining a little bit about it?
So Dog Vacay is kind of like an Airbnb for dogs. So if you're going away or if you need daycare, you can go on the website, put in your zip code, and find a host nearby who has been vetted by us, they're insured by us, and they are a dog lover and expert caretaker who will watch your dog either in their home or in yours. So it's really convenient. They set their own rates, and you can find someone much more affordably than like the local kennel. Then you don't have to put your friends out for the 100th time, and you know that they're in really good hands while you're gone because we've got your back, so to speak.
Yeah. I like to think of it like Match.com between dogs and people.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Because there's a part of it where really like you create your profile, you try to make yourself seem really awesome, and you show off, your pictures of your house.
Yeah.
But owners, they basically get to set up a meet and greet with you. So
we do. We definitely recommend it, especially if the host has a dog. You want to make sure that they get along. But I guess it can feel a little bit like an audition if you're a host. Yeah.
It's a little bit like, okay, are they going to like me? Are we going to match? Is it good?
And dogs have such personalities too, like just seeing if it's a good fit, But we do, we definitely recommend the meet and greet just so owners can see the environment, so the host can make sure that the dog, because some hosts, don't want really big dogs. They have a small apartment. There's all kinds of things. Like if you have stairs, then you wouldn't want to take an elderly dog who can't get up those stairs, So it's from both sides, making sure it's a good fit.
And what do you do at Dog Vacay specifically?
I'm our head of communications, which is mostly PR focused. So, we constantly have requests coming inbound from reporters, media, and then I'm also trying to make sure that we're in the news constantly, that I'm really highlighting the stories from our community, from our hosts, the ones that, I'm sure, like you said, you lived off Dog Vacay. We have amazing single parents who are able to work from the home and take great care of their kids and be there when their kids get home from school because they do this and they can do it from the house. We have students who are putting themselves through grad school or paying off their loans. We have lots of people saving up for weddings and honeymoons, retirees who are supplementing their income with something that they can do from the home. So they still have that flexibility that you want once you're 65 plus. You put in your time, so to speak, at the office. But this is just something they can do that sort of pads their income to make sure that they're, set in their later years and having fun doing it.
So you have this really interesting story about how you actually ended up being the head of communications for Dog Vacay, and it's a pretty entrepreneurial story in your approach and in how you actually got into this position.
For this one specifically, or since
really
the beginning?
Kind of what you've done. Maybe just share your journey, your whole journey, into how you've gotten into where you are today.
Let's see. I was an administrative assistant at a very boring company in Washington, D.C., and it was so boring that I started a blog, and this is way back, like 2006. I don't know, back when blogging was still like a nerdy thing that very few people did.
So you were probably sitting at a desk, like, this is, I'm so bored.
Together and making copies. I know there's going to blow my brains out.
So many people that are in this position. So many that are
you normally, when you get out of school, I took the first job that would pay me a livable wage and give me some professional experience because I couldn't really do internships in college. I was working the whole time. Thank you.
Thank you.
I was working to pay for school, pay for rent, pay for everything. So I didn't really have the opportunity to do a whole bunch of internships and finish college with all of this great experience. I was like actually entry level. So I ended up,
as like most people are when they come out of college.
Yeah. So I ended up and I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. Like most people don't. Yeah. So I took an administrative job, sitting at a computer, doing super boring things all day long. And like spreadsheets for days.
Spreadsheets for days.
Oh man, I do not miss
my
those
Excel
days.
game was on.
It was
point.
really good. I still remember some tricks. I can merge your cells like nobody's business.
Nobody's business.
Yeah. And so I started this blog, and I think because it was sort of a smaller niche market at the time, it ended up really taking off. And I was like 23, 24. I had crazy stories going on.
What were you blogging about?
It was more just like, oh, this funny thing that happened to me today. Kind of like stand-up comedy in blog form.
Just like telling your life story.
Yeah, but emphasizing the ridiculous or embarrassing. We did
very
TMI Thursdays. It was very self-deprecating, which
it was fun.
Yeah, it works for me. I had 2 cats that when they were kittens, there were a lot of stories. There were incidents with kitten poop everywhere. I mean, like really just normal, like day to day.
Every day, 20-year-old challenges.
Yeah. And I was going out to bars and I was single, and so there was plenty of fodder. And it ended up doing pretty well, and at some point MTV decided that they were gonna look for their first TJ, which is a Twitter jockey. Whoa, yeah, I know. It was very
This is like probably cheesy. When I stopped, I was like already out of MTV phase.
Yeah, I was.
I know VJs.
So was I. I know, exactly.
Carson Daly.
Yeah, so they were basically trying to take a spin on that and hire a TJ, and they found 20 bloggers around the country and made us compete in this online digital competition.
Did they find you, or did you?
Yeah, so I was one of them.
Okay.
Yeah. MTV sent me an email and was like, hey, do you want to do, and again, I'm at this boring job. I'm like, yeah, sure, no big deal. So I competed in that, ended up not winning because I was way too old at the age of 24.
Oh, God,
I was by far the oldest
senior citizen at that point.
Exactly. Everyone else
on
was
your way
like
out.
19, and
she even knows what Twitter is.
I knew what Twitter was. I did not know who any of the bands on MTV at the time were. I'm sure. I'm like, is Real World still on? Is that a thing?
We're doing Real World.
Yeah,
Real World Challenge.
Right. I was so
MTV's
out of it, but I figured it would be fun, and it was fun. It was just all online too, so it was. But more than that, it showed me like, oh, okay, doing like blogging and social media and creating this kind of content is actually a career path.
It's like a viable career path.
It's a viable career. So, and I'm good at it. Clearly, like I've been able to build this community of my own. There's no reason that I couldn't start doing that for businesses.
Was that eye-opening for you? And you're like, this could actually, I could do this?
Well, yeah, the first time you realize, like, I could tweet for a living, it sounds really cool. It's actually not. It's exhausting, and it's a lot of customer service, and you're on the clock 24/7, and you're the first line of defense if anything goes wrong. They don't tell you all that.
The one thing I want to take us back to is one of the things that really helped you get ahead and get to where you are was your interesting approach to applying. And you have this sort of famed Pinterest resume, which you created. So can you talk a little bit about what that was?
Definitely. That is probably the smartest. Well, I won't say smart because I didn't do it intentionally. It wasn't like I strategized that I was going to create this thing. I actually did it for myself. I use Pinterest so much for recipes and planning a party or a get together, things that I want to buy. So it made a lot of sense to me that that's where I would pin like all the different articles that I was mentioned in or contributed to, or just all sorts of different, like when I spoke at a conference, I would pin it there just to remind myself of sort of all the fun and exciting things I'd done throughout the year that I might need to refer back to if I was writing a bio or, trying to convince someone I was awesome enough to be their head of communications. And I showed it to a girlfriend because it was private, and she's like, why on earth is this private? Like, this is amazing.
Like a great idea.
Like, why would you not want people to see this? I'm like, oh yeah, I guess I hadn't even thought about it.
Yeah, because it was just a personal tool.
It was just a personal tool. It was like for my
like some
reminder.
people create like folders and they keep
exactly.
things on their computer.
It could have been a Gmail folder.
Yeah.
But
it was like, I use Pinterest.
Visual. Yeah, I just use Pinterest, and because most things have a fun image too, so it makes it better to look at. So I fixed it up, and I put everything in sort of chronological order and made sure the pictures were, good,
Pinterest-worthy.
And then I made the most recent one a JPEG of my resume, just updated resume, so that was sort of the first thing people would see if they did look at it, and called it the living resume, and hit public, and then I think Mashable was the first one to reach out and ask, they were doing a roundup of a couple of different ways people use Pinterest, or interesting resumes. And they wanted to feature it.
And how did they find you? I mean, did you have a big Pinterest following, or?
I do. Yeah. It's probably, I think it's, I don't know, between 10 and 15,000 or something, but, which is the same as Twitter. I think a lot of that just transfers over. But I don't know how they found it.
I mean, even when you hit public, were you like, I'm going to go do something with it, or now it's public if people want to comment?
I thought I would just have the link to the resume that I could easily send if I wanted to. And I do. I use it all the time. Yeah. I'll just link to it and be like, if you want to learn more, here's all the things I've done on one beautiful board. But I certainly wasn't planning on pitching it out to reporters or anything, but like USA Today Careers and CNN and a bunch of different outlets. After Mashable posted about it, they all sort of, like, it got picked up by a bunch of different channels. And, I still, to this day, I get people all the time who are like, this is the best idea, I'm going to do it myself. And definitely do.
Yeah, and definitely recommend.
Yeah, and then you have that link. It's so easy to send, especially because when you're in the digital world, you don't necessarily create a lot of tangible content. You're like, what are you going to do? Send someone your content calendar, or like your content strategy? And these
are all my thoughts on paper. They're like,
it's not a great visual. Whereas an artist or a graphic designer, they've got this beautiful portfolio, and so this is kind of a nice way to be. I mean, you could even pin something from a campaign that you had done and been like, this is a Facebook campaign that so it's like you can tailor it to whatever you need, and then it's such a great, like, it's just one little link that you can send around to everyone.
So Pinterest resume, definitely something you recommend for someone who's out, just to create a portfolio. Like, actually, and remind yourself, like, I'm good. I did some good stuff.
Well, that's the other thing. You forget the awesome things that you have done, and it's really good to keep track of them, especially throughout the year. Then when you are thinking about applying for a new job or whatever, applying for a position, anything really, it just comes in handy that you have a reference of examples of really great things that you've done. So for a potential interview question, you've got those answers ready to go. Like, the time I, put on a conference for 200 people and then this was what came out of it. So,
is there anything else that you'd recommend to anyone who's trying to, has a pretty clear vision of what they want to do with their life, or want to go down that career path?
Yeah, I think the most important thing I have done, and it's such a cliche, but just connecting with as many people as possible, reaching out, asking if I can buy them coffee, and making it really easy for them. I always recommend this to, younger people who want to get in touch with someone that they admire, or someone who's further along in their career path. They're probably busy, and you're asking them for a favor. So I always recommend finding out where they work and saying, can you come downstairs and spend 15 minutes at this coffee shop a block away? I'll buy you coffee. I just want to, I hate the phrase pick your brain, but I think of a more creative way to say that.
Your brain.
Yeah.
I always feel like I'm saying that. I hate
it's
it
cheesy,
too.
but there's not really the world needs to come up with something better. I'm tasking you with that. Next generation, it's your job.
Stop picking our brains.
Yeah, stop picking our brains, call it something else, because that's kind of gross and very overdone. But the sentiment remains the same. Offer buying coffee. Come with a specific question. Like, I'm really interested in, consumer PR. Should I work at an agency or should I work at a startup, which will give me better experience? Like, come with very specific questions that you know they'll be able to answer and help you out with. Because it's so, when someone comes to me and they're like, how do I get into social media? I'm like, social media what? Like community management, or what kind of company, to kind of industry? Like, it's such a broad thing. Like, what do you mean get into? Do you want a job? Do you want experience? Do you want to see if you even like it? Like, narrow it down.
Do your research first.
Yeah, do your research first, for sure. And then just have coffee with as many people as you can. There's all those experiments that, you know, it's like 50 coffees a year, or
I don't know. Tell me.
I can't remember. So there's a lot of people out there who are like trying to do, you know, X coffees a month with people, or X coffees a year with people, and I think that it's a really great way. You just never know who is going to be the referral that is a connection to this shop that you want, or this whatever, and that's the way you get jobs. Like, I've gotten very few jobs by applying through the website.
It's been through networking.
All through networking, except for Dog Vacay. It's all been through networking. I mean, you do what you have to do, and luckily enough, it paid off, and I have my dream job.
Oh, that's so fantastic!
It's been quite a journey when you put it all together like that, but yeah, it's been great. And now I even adopted a dog, so I'm very on brand. I'm committed.
You're committed. You're like totally in the culture.
I was a cat person before. I still am. I love them dearly, but it is a totally different thing. I thought that working at Dog Vacay would sort of give me my dog fix, so that I'd be like, oh, I can play with them all day, and then go home and I have my low maintenance cats, and it's great. But it actually, when you see everyone around you, because everyone brings their dogs in, there's like 25 in the office, it makes you want them so much more. Like, because you see the bond, and you're like, oh, I want that.
Yeah, like, it's different because it's not yours.
Right, and it is. And they're so attached to their person, and it's absolutely,
like,
I love them all. Right, I know. I know.
It's kind of like if you're really hungry and you get like a bite of something, it only makes you hungrier.
It makes you want it so much more.
And you're like, oh, that was not helpful.
Yeah, dogs are like Pringles.
Dogs are like Pringles.
Can't have one.